All right, guys, I just have to tell you that I have tried to record this video 5 times now. So if there's any interruptions or pauses, sorry, but I do have the birds in the background. We're going to talk a little bit about vacation or virtual field trips specifically. So when I happen to be on my spring break, so yay, spring break edition. But I wanted to point out right before I went on break, some of the kids were expressing how sad they were because they couldn't go to the beaches. And here in California, a lot of kids go to the beaches. They go to the desert with their family. They do things together outside that some of them are not available right now. And so some of the kids were a little bummed out about that. So I told them that we would go on a field trip to somewhere special. So I'm going to talk you through how to do a virtual field trip. And I'm going to share a little bit of anecdotal and just talking about how I did it and why. So like I said, that was my inspiration. I have done virtual field trips in the past. I find that you get a lot of language. You add a lot of history. We look up stuff, we learn more, and we learn together. And I think sometimes what we forget as therapists is that it's okay to learn with your students. There are certain sources you want to make sure that you're watching for the safety of students and children, like YouTube videos. I always try to preview those first, but like National Geographic Kids has great safe videos for kids. Some of the National Geographics are fine, but I want to remind you guys, as speech therapists, we present things, and these are things we already know. Well, sometimes it's good to show kids, especially the ones we work with, that learning is an ongoing thing, and we do it too. So I find topics that I'm kind of interested in by accident or on purpose, and I find that the kids really happen to like a lot of the same things I do, and they love the fact that I love what we're doing. And so part of what we need to do as therapists is show the love. So if you are feeling really bored by what you're doing, not very invested, the kids won't be invested either, because, well, you have the most stake in it, and if you're not interested, chances are they really aren't either. So one of the things you want to do is engage them. And how do you engage them? Your attitude helps a lot. So I always pride myself in being a lifelong learner. I research things, I learn about things. I'm not great at everything, but I do really enjoy learning about history and different places to travel. I'm not much of a traveler, but it's really enjoyable that we have the amazing internet at our fingertips, so we can bring these things to students that may never get that chance, to ourselves, who in our busy lives will never get that chance. So I wanted to kind of share this and share the appeal of taking a virtual field trip and learning on the way with our students. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and link to my iPad. And then once I'm on my iPad, we're going to hop on Google Earth. Now, I had it kind of preloaded because I've done this 6 times already. But you're going to start out with a little story like, okay, guys, we are going on a trip. I am paying for everything. It's all free for you. Everything is totally free. So on this field trip, we're going to meet at the school parking lot. And so you can zoom in and Google Earth on your school parking lot. And then you're going to show them, because you want to show them a scale of how far it is. You're going to zoom out, maybe zoom to the closest airport. And from that airport, you're going to show them how far you're going to have to fly to land in Miami. So your trip, you may decide you want to go see the pyramids of Egypt. That is okay. Those are amazing things. You might want to pre-learn about the pyramids before, so you have some videos to show about them. You can do virtual walkthroughs. There's tons of information on the internet. In this case, we are going to go to Fort Jefferson, which is in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. So what we're going to do is, I always hype it up like we're all going on a field trip. So we're going to meet at school, and I'm going to drive you guys to the airport. I'm paying for everything. We are going to go to a secret island in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. There is no way to get there except by boat, helicopter, or seaplane. We are going to go ahead and take my virtual seaplane there once we get down to the Florida Keys. So I have them stop in Miami. So we land in Miami, and then you're going to flip your map around, and you're going to have them follow oversea highway, because it's just really a unique trip. And the fact that this highway is over the ocean is pretty amazing. And I think the kids don't really get the scope of it until you show them. It is literally a highway in the middle of the ocean. So you might talk about too, the people in the Florida Keys, they struggle to during hurricanes because they really can't take this highway off the islands unless they have enough time. So here we go. Already we've got something interesting. No name key. Looks like some kind of a water processing, sewer processing. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take this highway all the way down. We're going to keep going down. And you might have some stop trips. Look at this. We have the Naval Station in Key West. That is very cool. And then we're going to go ahead, keep going down, keep going down. Ooh, we could have landed in the Key West National Airport, but where's the fun in that? You don't get to go over the highway. So I really want you guys to really focus on this. Uh-oh, I lost my highway. I didn't go far enough. Or did I? I did. Look at that. So you're going to go take there. And then once you're at the bottom here, I think we can get all the way down to Fort Zachary Taylor down here. And what you're going to do, yep, this is the last island. So what I usually do, though, is I zoom in a little more and I show them, and this is a very cool thing you can do on Google Earth, is you can look for, and I like that shark channel. So you can go here and go, hey, what's this? And you can pop down and be there. So this one is not quite as interesting, but it's very cool. So part of it is on the ocean. There we go. But I hop up and I go over this way. I mean, we covered that ground fast. I was zoomed out pretty far. All right, so some of the most unique stretches I have missed. There we are. So there we go. You're gonna go down here and you can hop on the street there. And what I want you guys to see is that, look at that. We are over the ocean, literally. It's very cool. We are driving, it's a 7-mile bridge. So literally 7 miles. Oh, hey car, that is an interesting motorcycle there. It is an interesting highway. It's 7 miles over the ocean. So clearly, this is why they have to shut down the Florida Keys when there's a hurricane coming, because this isn't a safe area to be on. All right, so here we go. We're gonna go back down. Oop, I spun it too much. All right, we're gonna go all the way back down to the bottom of Key West. There we are. And we are gonna take my secret seaplane. I didn't even know I had it. It's so secret. And we're gonna go down over here. There we are. You're gonna go to Dry Tortugas National Park, and you're gonna zoom in there, and you're gonna like, see how we took our seaplane, and you're gonna hop in, and this is the most intriguing part. So this is an actual fort that was built in the middle of the ocean, and it's got a unique history to it. So we're gonna go ahead and we're going to tour it. Yay! So I like to land right here. Now, my virtual seaplane, we can't see it yet, but we hop off. Maybe we took a ferry, and that's how most people get there, the ferry. There's a seaplane at one point. You can see one of the pictures shows it. And look, we can see it's under construction. You might talk to the kids about why it's under construction. And I talk to the kids about, you know, erosion. There's a lot of erosion because it is in the middle of the ocean. So it's exposed to harsh sea and sea salt and then winds. Plus, you know, just the fact that it's surrounded by water, as you can see here, that also is eating away at the foundation because it's built on an island. So we talk about that. I also talk about the history of it. So it's got a very interesting history. At one point, once we took over, the United States turned it into a prison, which, as we know, this would not be the most humane prison because it is away from everyone's family. So then that wouldn't be a very good prison because people couldn't visit. So it was a prison at one point. Prior to that, though, I believe it was held by the Spanish. And when the Spanish had it, we talk about why they might have needed a fort. And this is where I go back and say, all right, we are in the Gulf of Mexico. Here we are. Take a look. We're in Dry Tortugas National Park. Let's take a look at where we are. We are literally in the Caribbean or close to it. So what were there a lot of in the Caribbean? You know, what do you think? And a lot of times I go, oh yeah, pirates. And we talk about that. Yes, exactly. Pirates. So there were pirates there in the ocean, and this was a fort in the middle of the ocean. And so they had to protect it because there were a lot of pirates there. It also was a good lookout point for people in the middle of the ocean to kind of see who was coming in and out. Plus, it had a nice lighthouse right there. So we want to look at the Garden Lighthouse. There we are. So at first it was a brick and conical tower. It's an abandoned fortification. It's no longer used as a military facility. It is now just a national park. So it was about 5 years after Spain sold Florida to the United States. They inspected it, and he looked for a naval station that would help suppress piracy in the Caribbean. He notified that the Dry Tortugas, he notified the Secretary of the Navy that the Dry Tortugas were unfit for any kind of naval establishment. He reported that they consisted of small sand islands with a little above the surface of the ocean, no fresh water, and scarcely enough land to place a fortification. Others thought that it was a good place to put a lighthouse because there's a lot of reefs around there. And we're going to talk about that. It's actually part of a national park and some protected reef area. Okay, so they actually created it. They loved it. 11 small keys surrounding reefs and banks over which the sea broke. So it softens a little bit of the roughness of the ocean. All right, it was begun December 1846, and let's see, it looks like they finished it around 1861 is when it says it was built. So they could, that the existing Garden Key Lighthouse and Lighthouse Keeper's Cottage were contained within the walls of the fort because, again, there was piracy and it was rampant. So being a guy manning a lighthouse, we talk about what things that would be there that people would want. And the kids a lot of times will say gold. Well, these guys didn't have gold, but they had fresh water. They had food. Sometimes they had supplies like gunpowder, cannonballs, things like that. And so that would make it a very good target for pirates because there's nowhere to go on an island like that. So they can come and just steal your stuff. So we created this very, very, very cool lighthouse. And then we decided that we were going to place a fort around it. So then we talk about, okay, so the kids really enjoyed the idea that this was a fort built to defend a lighthouse against piracy. At one point, I believe it was also, like I mentioned in a prior video, it also became a prison during the Civil War. Yep. So during the Civil War, it had a population of 168 people, including women and children. And in September 1861, the first prison soldiers arrived. So this was a prison for soldiers. And so, of course, as we know now, that is really inhumane to house anybody there like that. So post-Civil War, civilian prisoners arrived. And thankfully that ended quite a while after that. So in 1935, it was designated as a national monument. And in 1992, it was established as a national park. Lucky for us. And so for me, I will probably never get to go see this place, but seeing it online is amazing. So now here's another cool feature that you can do on your virtual tour. So first I talked to the kids about the shape. So what shape is this? We can talk about how many sides can you count it out? And a lot of times they say, oh, it's a pentagon, or it's an octagon, and we count and we come up with 6, and I go, what's a hexagon? Meaning it has 6 sides. So very cool. And then I go, what's that thing around the outside of it? Can you see it with the water? What is that called? We call it a moat. What is a moat? A moat is an area around a building that is filled with water. Oftentimes, sometimes it was filled with, what do they say? Tar, things like that, to dissuade people or discourage people from getting into the building. So it was another protection for the building. So we have this moat here surrounding this very cool fort, so it made it hard. And it is on a tiny island. And here's where we get to see, oh, look, we're gonna hang out here. What is over here? We're on the beach. Woo! So I want you guys to take a look, and as you're looking around, I want you to think about what kind of landscape this is. You know, what kind of an island is this? Is this a tropical island, or is this more of a desert island? So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna walk in. We're gonna go right here, woo! And this is the cool part about Google Earth, is we get to actually do a walking tour. And we talk about, okay, so we talked about erosion. And this building, unfortunately, is falling apart due to erosion. What are some things that cause erosion? Erosion is the wearing away of a building or a geologic formation, a geographic formation, cliffs. So it's the weather damaging or taking away pieces of something. So in this case, we can see a lot of erosion of the brick. And so unfortunately for us, this actual structure will probably not be around for as long as we wish it would be. It's already eroding. It's in the middle of an island, so it's really hard to get materials there, and also expensive. And it'd be a lot of upkeep because there's so much erosion from the wind, the water, the salt water, and the salt in the water. So we've got wind, water, and the salt in the water. And that would cause the erosion. And you can see that. You can see, what is this line right here? Do you see that? There's a line on the bricks. What do you think that's from? And we talk about, well, that's a water line. At some point, the water has been that high. So there's a lot of damage, and it looks like they've fixed some of it, but as you can see, it's missing lots and lots of bricks. And bricks are made of heated clay, so of course they're going to fall apart over time. And just because this is a moat doesn't mean that it doesn't experience waves as well, because it is connected to the water that's outside of the fort. All right, so we're going to go ahead. We can walk through. Whoop. Oh, yay. All right. So here we go. No pets allowed. Don't bring your dogs, guys. No cats and dogs. All right. So here we go. This is where we talk about, why do you think they used a shape? Like, why do you think they made it like this instead of just a building in front? And that's where you could talk about, well, they have area to grow. It looks like they are growing plants, maybe some oranges, some lemons. So they're growing plants on this island to help with any vitamin deficiencies. And here we go, visitor center. Okay. Also gives you space to garden, space to move around. If you have troops there, they need to practice and keep up with their physical exercise. So it gives you a nice jogging area. You could set up tents in there if you need it. So lots of good things there. So here we go. We're going to keep going on our tour. And here we come to the lighthouse. And usually what I say is, what do you guys, what is that? What do you think that is? And then the kids are going, they come up with the word, oh, lighthouse. Ah, why do they have a lighthouse? And we saw some of the history, but what is a lighthouse? A lighthouse is a building that has a light in it. Why would they need a lighthouse there? Well, a lot of kids say, well, to find the island. Okay, that's part of it. Another part is to warn the ships that there is submerged land. And so they need to be aware, like, oh, and each lighthouse has its own individualized blink or flash pattern. And based on that, they can tell where they are. And then they can go, oh my goodness, we're in the wrong area. Oh no, we need to back off because there's a reef under there. Stay away. All right, here we go. What is very cool in this one, we're gonna go here, is we can actually go on top of the building. Oh, or maybe, there we are. So here we are on top of the building looking at the lighthouse. That isn't a very big lighthouse, but now we know why, that the cottage is underneath the building and that the lighthouse took over everything else here. It looks like they had an airstrip at one point. Look at that. So you can talk about the different buildings. And then we want to talk about, look at the, I said earlier, like look at the land. So take a look at this. That is a what? It's a cactus, right? There's another one there. So when we look there, we go, oh my goodness, this is definitely not a tropical island. It is a desert island. So even though it was a desert island, they still, and it's very sandy and rocky, they still put a fort there. And look at this. They had to defend it. And we talked about the pirates. What is that? It's a cannon. So they had to use cannons to defend it. And what's cool on this virtual tour, you can go all the way around the entire fort, walking around and checking it out. And so in fact, you can see the moat. And so I would encourage just talking about all of those things and getting some more history on it. And so that the kids find it very amazing that we can do this virtual tour right in our own living room and all together. So with that, I'm going to stop and wish you a good break and enjoy. Hopefully you guys take virtual tours on lots of places. Thanks, buddy. Hot pepper.